Hi everyone. So today I would like to take even a deeper dive into numbers. Dive that's gonna knock your socks off. Okay. I was thinking about this video series, although I call them beginners, it's actually going back to such a beginning that at the end of the day you'll become an expert on the matter. So that's basically where this is going. And you will see some of the things that are making sense. So let's open up Visual Studio Code. Go open folder. Let's go numeric types 3. Create a folder. Numeric types 3. Okay, the folder is selected. Let's go to terminal, new terminal. .NET new console. All right, let's click on programs and enable debugging. Okay, so as usual, console right line hello world. We remove this. So first thing first, you guys remember the overflow scenario, right? So when I took the integer type, let's do the integer data types in C#. I'm looking this up right now. So we had the value of integer at this number. So let's declare int number, and we're gonna set it to its limit, right? There's another way to do this. Into the number, you can say max number, and you can say int max value. So max number and number are equivalent because this is explicitly typed up and this is written. So let's see if that's the case, right? So console right now. It's good to test things out, right? It's just for your own sake. So let's write out the number. So let's say number. Let's do the same thing for max type. Max number. Max. Let's forget semicolon. All right. So let's save this, run this, and let's see what happens, right? We expect them to be the same. Let's see if that's the case. So run it. Another thing I want to tell you about programming, if you don't touch programming for a while, it sort of starts to slip. So it's important to touch this from time to time so you can stay current. So notice, look what happens. They're the same, right? So we saw something like this, right? So let's do min value. minimum number, and we go int so we have here as oh, I put it max, right? So we found out when you you increase the largest or you decrease the smallest, it's gonna give you the opposite. So when I do min number, I decrement it by 1. Let's see what that gives me. So min number after subtracting 1. Do you see? It gives us the same thing. So that's a silent failure. So silently it is failing and returns nonsense. Okay, so how can we deal with something like this, right? So one way to do it is to use a checked keyword, which can be an option that you set for coding in general in your environment. I don't know how to do this in Visual Studio Code, but in Visual Studio Enterprise or Professional, you can actually set this behavior by default. So let's do int min number. Let's do that again, min number 2, and we go int min value, right? So now we go min number 2, and we decrease it by 1. So you're saying, well, these guys are the same. This one is the same as this one. Right, they are. So let me show you how you can actually prevent this. So we type the word checked. And we put this in parentheses, right? So what this tells you? Only assignment called increment decrement away the new object expression can be used as a statement. Okay, so this type is not allowed, right? Below is not allowed. Okay, so there are some levels of constraint on this. Let's try this. Min number 2 equals min number 2 minus 1, right? So far so good. So let's write the words checked. And now let's do this, right? So let's see what will happen. You see, you get an error, overflow, which is correct. So the program stops you from returning nonsense. Let me see if quickly if this is available in checked default. I don't see it. So that's something that I'm gonna investigate and see if this is available in Visual Studio Code. All right. So you see the checked prevents this from returning nonsense, or you can, the default behavior for Visual Studio Code is unchecked, right? So this is the behavior you get. And when we save this, you see it doesn't crash. So my advice is this: to, if you are conscious that overflow is something that you don't desire, either you check for it or you use the checked keyword, right? So remember, there's some constraint with it. It has to be, it doesn't accept the above. It has to be rewritten as such, right? So let's just put a comment. Unchecked is the default behavior, which allows overflows to fail silently. And so let's now do checked. Checked has to be explicitly set. You get an error on overflows. So that's, keep that in mind. You can also let's say you have some complex code that you don't, that the entire piece needs to be checked. So you can do something like this, right? You can do checked. And anything inside will be checked. So let's see if the original will work. All right. So they did not allow me to do this, but they allow me to do this. So you see, anything within these brackets will be checked. So let's see if that's true. So we should get an error here. Okay, so let me disable that too, because this thing is already because of this already became a max. So that's why this thing is honored. So let's do it again. You see? So we get an overflow. So that's the workaround. So guys, just based on this example, right? this is highly complex that most developers would not know about this, right? So we sort of going to the beginning as a beginner, but we turning every stone. So at the same time, you are gaining knowledge that a lot of the advanced developers don't have. So just stick by this course and you guys will become very competitive C# developers. All right, so that's how you get around this, right? At the same token, so the below is allowed to use to get around also the checked, right? So that's funny, right? This guy is not allowed, right? But if you do it this way, they allow you, right? At the same token, you can do unchecked like this, right? But that's the default behavior, so you don't really have to do it, right? There is also another thing that you can do, right? So let's say if you're creating a integer some number, right? If you take the max value and you add 1, this will immediately fail. So this type of overflow lets you know of the bug. This is known at the real time, right? And you get this error at the design time. So this errors out and at design time. The errors that happen during the run of the program are the errors that are runtime errors. So these are this errors at design time or compile time. So usually they get caught as you type, but sometimes they get caught while you compile. I guess it depends on the engine that you're using. And the errors that happen when you run the program and you like play with it and you hit the wrong key or something and you get an error, these are runtime errors. So you see, you get this thing problematic, right? But now look at this. So we still get this, right? But if you go unchecked, it works. So this is very strange because the default behavior, it allows you overflow, except if you do it this way. So there is some inconsistency, right? You will expect this to work because it was unchecked by default, but in this case it is not. So there's some quirks to keep in mind. There is some bitwise operations in C#, which are so let's just go over them, right? So this one is a complement. A little squiggly thing. Bitwise operation. I'm just letting you know what they are, and I'll explain you something. Then you have AND. which is 1 n%. Then you have an OR, which is just like a pipe. Then you have exclusive OR, which is a caret. Then you have some shifting mechanism, so shift left, shift right. So beware of that these things are these. And what I wanted to tell you, in all the years that I've been coding, 20 plus years, I never ever use these guys. So most likely you won't use them either, but just know what they are. One of the lessons before I mentioned that C# likes integers, right? Why is that, right? Why using integers is the best as opposed to using short, U short, byte, and S byte? So let me explain you. Byte, S byte, short, and U short do not have arithmetic operations assigned. They do not have arithmetic operations. Isn't that wild that they don't have? So just think about this, right? Would you learn this in a beginner's course or advanced course? Most likely not, right? But they don't have it, right? So if I have a short, some short, right? And I set it to 1 plus 1, right? It works. So let's see. Okay, so we're having some problems. First, we're getting this problem, right? So let's stop this, right? So let's put a comment around here because we want our program to run, right? And it fell again, right? So this works, right? So let's try something again, short, some short one. We're gonna set it equal to 1, some short 2. We're gonna also set it equal to 2 to 1. Short, some short 3. We're gonna get some short 1 plus some short 2. 2. So sum short 1 plus 1 is fine. But if I set short sum short 1 and sum short 1, and I do sum short 1 plus sum short 2, isn't this the same as this? It doesn't like it. So what's happening? What is happening here? C# does not like the below. Doesn't like the below, right? Doesn't like the below. So why doesn't it like it, right? Because behind the scene, it converts sum short 1 and sum short 2 to integers. And integer is bigger than short, that's why it doesn't want it. So think about it. Every time you use short type and you perform arithmetics, C# is converting that short into an integer. So that takes overhead. So let's do this again. So let's try to make this work. So what you can do to make this work is that you put a short in front and you put the expression in parentheses. So after integer answer is returned, it gets explicitly converted to short. So that's what's happening, right? So guys, thank you so much for watching. We learned some out of this world things today, right? With the checked, how to handle overflows, and then you see what's happening with shorts when you deal with them. They're good in terms of the size, much smaller than integer, but you have this overhead, right? That you are always upscaling them to integer. So C# has to work harder. So unless you really have a reason to use a short, you should just stick with integers. Thank you so much for watching. All the best. I will try to do a programming video every week, and we're going to be progressing. Once we're going to wrap up the types, we're going to start getting more and more advanced, and you will see how all the pieces are fitting together. And then we'll bring some databases into the table and web API. Also, maybe in comments, you can tell me what you want to learn. So stay tuned. All the best. Again, please subscribe. Bye bye.